A federal judge yesterday blocked the Trump administration requiring people to file that I-944, where if you took government benefits, it's 2 strikes against you and you have to show you're employed and you're an employable person. And the reason why the judge did it, I'm going to quote Judge Daniels. He wrote the decision here in federal court in Manhattan. He said the policy fails to measure up to the gravity of the global pandemic that continues to threaten the lives and economic well-being of America's residents. Really what he's saying is it's really unfair to tell somebody who's an American citizen or a lawful permanent resident that they have to not get medical care. God forbid they get sick with coronavirus, or God forbid they accept food stamps. They're not working right now because 1/3 of America is unemployed. And we have more than 1,000 people dying of coronavirus every day. But you know what? You got to choose between getting medical care or filing for your family. And by the way, those decisions are made every day on this show, right? We hear those questions all the time. I always tell people, you want your family, you got to get off. Try to get off, but obviously don't starve to death. And the judge actually is recognizing this. And he says that's really extraordinarily unfair to make somebody decide whether or not they're sick with coronavirus, but you know what? They shouldn't go to the hospital because they don't have health insurance. You know what? I lost my job because if they get Medicaid, now all of a sudden their spouse's adjustment application is denied. All right? Think about the choices that people have to make here. Okay?
Those are not choices that you should have to make.
Correct. You know what? I lost my job. Wasn't my fault. I was working in the same job for 20 years. I lost it. Why? Because the business was closed down. Why was the business closed down? Not because we were a bad business, because the governor of my state told us to close our business down. And now I have no job. And as a result, I got to put food on the table. I need to get, food vouchers, WIC. But you know what? If I do, my spouse doesn't get a green card. My parent doesn't get a green card. When you think about the choices that people have to make, this judge makes a lot of sense. Now, in January, the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration can go forward with the I-944, but that was pre-pandemic, all right? So, we don't know what's going to happen. Tomorrow, if you filed an adjustment application, I am sure USCIS is going to return it and say, where's your I-944 form? However, over time, they either have to start accepting applications without the 944, or probably what's going to happen is Trump's going to appeal this and everything will stay the same. But at least it's a short-term victory for people who feel, again, Trump is really overdoing it. Why is he overdoing it? Because he don't care about nobody but himself. And he's saying to himself, if I don't get reelected again, I've done a lot of dirty stuff here. This is my opinion. I really believe he thinks he's going to go to jail. Like, the Democrats are going to investigate the hell out of him, and they're going to find stuff on him. Okay? Right. So he's saying, I got to pull every dirty trick I know, every racist, civil rights violationist trick I know to get people up in arms. That's right. That's exactly how he feels every moment of his life. That face, that's exactly how he feels, because he has less than 100 days. And by the way, he is now tweeting that he believes that the election is not going to be fair in November, and as a result, it should be postponed.
No.
He suggested postponing the November presidential election because we're going to have too many mail-in votes. It's going to be up for fraud. Till coronavirus is gone, I should remain president. There should be no election. In a series of tweets, Trump said, universal mail-in voting would make November's vote the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history, a great embarrassment to the USA. He wants to postpone it. And however, every person other than Donald Trump, including people in the Republican Party, say there is no evidence at this moment that the election is going to be so fraudulent that it should be postponed. Republican Lindsey Graham, who is a big Trump supporter, says, where I share the president's concern about fraud in elections that use mail ballots as the primary source of voting, I do not support delaying the November election. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is the head Republican in the Senate, said never in the history of the country, through wars, depression, And the Civil War, have we ever not had a federally scheduled election on time? We'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And Majority Whip Senator John Thune, a member of the Republican leadership in the House of Representatives, told CNN that I think that's probably a statement that gets some press attention, but I doubt any traction. There is nobody who is going to delay that. I mean, because once you start delaying, that's what leads to fascism and everything else. Now, when I read it, I just thought of the song, Desperado. He's desperate now because he sees, you know, coronavirus isn't going away. He's 10, 12, 14 points down in the polls. All the swing states are leaning towards Biden right now. It looks like if the election were to happen today, that the Democrats would actually win the Senate as well. And he is looking for a wedge issue. Okay, so the wedge issue he has right now is immigrants, minorities, law and order, and he's basically clumping everybody who's protesting. A great majority of the protesters, I don't know the exact percentage, 90, 95%, 98%, 99%, I don't know, but way up there, are all non-violent civil rights protesters. There's a few looters and stuff, but he's lumping everybody. As a result of that, he's trying to do a law and order thing, scare whites. Look what's going to happen. All of these protesters are all lumped together. They're anarchists. They all want to overthrow the government. And because coronavirus isn't going away, so he ain't going to win on coronavirus. He's not winning on the economy. Okay? Not when the economic statistics came out today that if the last quarter was spread out over 1 year, the United States economy shrunk by 32%. But they do these economic statistics over a 1 year period. So for example, you have to understand when they said the economy is down 32%, it's not really down 32%. I guess the best analysis would be like this. You know what? This is what I do. Every day when I see the ice cream truck outside of 225 Broadway, there's a $6 ice cream cone. So I say to myself, I can get the $6 ice cream cone and gain weight and get fat, or I can save the $6 in my pocket. And then I start adding up. $6 times 7, that's $42 in ice cream a week, times 52.
Week, yeah.
Okay, now, you know what? I'm not going to get fat, and I'm going to save $2,000. So that's how they do the economic statistics, you know? They do it based on what it would have been over 1 year. So if this last quarter continued, over 1 year, it would have ongoing over 1 year, like me saving $6 per ice cream cone, it would have been down 32% for the year.
I feel like for November, we might have a system sorted out in place. But then again, when you think about it, it's like the way the booths are set up. Like, are you disinfecting the booths after every voter? Like, it's a whole thing.
I think there's going to be a lot of people who do vote-in, who do mail-in votes. A lot of the mail-in votes are going to be in the swing states and the Democratic states. Trump is going to claim all of those states, they're fraudulent, and he's going to stay in the White House and demand recount after recount after recount, claim that Biden won is not an authentic win, it's a fraudulent win. And ultimately, unless Biden wins by a landslide, you know, if it's going to be a close election, that's what's going to happen. I'm actually scared about what's going to happen. Civil rights leader John Lewis was laid to rest in Atlanta, the city he represented in Congress for more than 3 decades. Every living president came to pay their respects but one, the Orange Man. Former President Jimmy Carter wrote a letter that was read at the funeral, but former Presidents George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, shared personal memories of working alongside Representative Lewis in Washington. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi at times fought back tears as she compared Lewis to former President Abraham Lincoln and said there was a double rainbow in the sky on the last day his casket was inside the U.S. Capitol. Former President Obama delivered the eulogy and said Lewis was an American whose faith was tested again and again. He said, I know this is a celebration of John's life. There are some who might say we shouldn't dwell on such things, but that's why I'm talking about it. Now, citing the Supreme Court weakening the Voting Rights Act, Obama says, you want to honor John? Let's honor him by revitalizing the law that he was willing to die for. Obama called for several voting changes, including that every American automatically be registered to vote. That would make sense. Adding polling places, expanding early voting, making Election Day a national holiday. Do you know why the Republicans win? Because they limit voter turnout. Because they know that if every American voted, only about a third of Americans would actually vote Republican. So the reason why Democrats lose is because Democrats don't get out the vote, and it's because either people don't want to go vote or they're blocked from voting because of difficult roadblocks that are put in front of them, including not being able to take a day off from work, including not having polling places near where they are, including not being able to do a mail-in vote and risk their life and having to wait online in states that are not doing mail-in votes, making all sorts of application and requirements to actually be able to vote. It should just be, you're here, you should get a voting card, period, end of story. Global and U.S. coronavirus statistics. According to Johns Hopkins University, there's now over 17 million coronavirus cases worldwide. Yesterday, coronavirus deaths in the United States surpassed 150,000 people. The U.S. has the most cases, with nearly 4.5 million people infected with coronavirus. 21 states are in the red zone, and they should impose more restrictions to help control the virus. 150,000 people dead. Yesterday, unfortunately, Herman Cain, former presidential hopeful, who was once considered by Trump for the Federal Reserve, he attended Trump's rally in Tulsa. He did not wear a mask. Right after he went to Trump's rally in Tulsa without a mask, he came down with coronavirus. He was in the hospital for 1 month, and unfortunately he died yesterday. Now, Cain had recently joined Newsmax TV and was set to launch a weekly show. Newsmax is a highly influential in conservative circles, and Trump had a close relationship with Newsmax founder Christopher Rudy. I don't know if that's why he went to the Tulsa rally, because he was starting his new show. He was on a conservative station. He had to show support for Trump. He had to show that I'm going to the rally without wearing a mask. And by the way, he had cancer. So he should never have been there in the first place. Not at his age with cancer, without a mask. The only thing I could guess is that he was just trying to support Trump at his rally and say, you see, I don't have to wear a mask. Look how happy I am. But in the end, that rally killed him, most likely.
Right. He was talking a lot of stuff on Corona and talking about how it wasn't, that real, or how there wasn't going to be a second wave, and how you didn't have to wear masks. It's unfortunate because, regardless of anyone's belief, he's still a human being. This is not a time to drag him, even though I did not, like what he would say. I definitely didn't follow his beliefs. This was preventable. Wear a freaking mask.
He was a pretty rich dude. He was the CEO of Godfather Pizza. So he was a very wealthy guy. I don't know the extent of whether he was worth 100 million or $1 billion or whatever he was worth, but he was worth a lot of money. He didn't need to die. He could have lived a very happy life with his money. He didn't need to be there.
And it's like when we were reviewing that rally, we said it like, who knows all the different cases, the things that could have spread. And it's like, look, weeks later, results, as well as like, I don't know, health issues, just so crazy. People need to take care of themselves right now more than ever.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, he's now saying not only should we be wearing masks, but everyone should be actually wearing goggles or something to cover your eyes. Fauci addressed when people should get tested if they believe they've been exposed to COVID. He says, I might go a day or so early because of the incubation period. So he's thinking the incubation period is about 6 to 9 days. So he's saying if you think that you got infected with COVID, you should go be tested around day 5 is a good time to be tested, right before you would show the symptoms, because the symptoms would start showing between 6 and 9. They tell everybody that you have to go a full 14 days of quarantine if you think you were infected. And he's saying the best way not to get infected, a mask, and now goggles as well. You can wear one of those face masks or goggles, because the virus could enter through your eyes. There's holes all over your face, ears, eyes, nose, mouth. Yeah.
So are you going to start wearing goggles?
You'll see tomorrow. I'm going to wear earmuffs too. Earmuffs, goggles, face mask.
Hot out there.
And gloves. Don't forget your gloves, Brad.
Yes. It is Wacky World News. Thursday.
I love this ride.
That's right. There we are. You know what also today is besides Wacky World News Thursday? Today is International Friendship Day. So happy International Friendship Day, not only to Yo-Yo and Vanessa, the whole crew, but the entire squad. International Friendship Day, it's observed every year on July 30th. And it went into being on April 27, 2011. The General Assembly of the United Nations declared July 30th is International Friendship Day. So, all our love to all our friends. A serial record breaker armed himself with a machete and chopped through 50 watermelons placed on his friend's head in 60 seconds. This guy can chop 50 watermelons in 60 seconds. We can't even get through 9 immigration questions in 60 seconds. Arishta Furman, whose Guinness World Record-breaking career has included more than 600 different titles, chopped through 50 watermelons placed on Hamagni Baptista's head in Malaysia. The number was enough for Furman to capture another world record. Would you allow this man?
No.
What happens if he slips? Watch out!
Did they eat
What
his
happens if
watermelon?
Can you imagine if he slipped and then he's like, oh, I got 50 watermelons and my best friend's head? Because that's
Do you
what
see
would
how
happen.
fast he slices through that? Oh, hell no.
That looks like so much fun.
Malaysia is a negligence lawyer's dream. If they only had negligence law in Malaysia, we would clean up there. I've been telling most.
And then you wasting all those watermelons.
Cases left and right.
Exactly.
Cases left and right.
Most would be like, Brad, we got another head severed from a watermelon Guinness record book.
No, see, not good.
The lines would be ringing, Brad. The lines would be ringing.
Exactly. In Cornwall, Ontario, Canada, a driver accidentally stole a complete stranger's car. Didn't realize it for 2 weeks and has been driving around. She went to the Walmart supermarket. This woman came out of the Walmart supermarket and found that her black Nissan Sentra was missing. Now, the unwitting motorist then got into an unlocked car, pressed the keyless start button, and drove off, oblivious to the fact that it was a completely different vehicle to her own rental car. So it was 2 different rental cars that were next to each other, I guess. Now, cars with button ignitions can be operated as long as the key fob is located inside the car, which in this case it was. So not long afterwards, a black Nissan Infiniti, which had been parked in the same lot, was reported stolen. The car's owner had been shopping in Walmart before realizing his vehicle had vanished. In a lengthy Facebook post, the Cornwall Community Police Service warned motorists to never leave their key fobs in the car.
Right.
So the woman drove around and used the black car for her regular everyday activities and only realized something was wrong after returning to the rental company to return the car. And the rental company said, this ain't our car.
That's wild.
The debacle began when the woman rented a black Nissan Sentra from a company in Cornwall, Ontario. She then drove to a Walmart supermarket before coming back to find what she thought was her car, but she took somebody else's car.
Wow.
That's basically what happened. A potentially dangerous and invasive wild species of raccoon dog, normally found in East Asia, is roaming the countryside in none other than the United Kingdom. In 2019, the Mirror Online reported that a village in Nottinghamshire was under siege and absolutely mad from the raccoon dog. The local police said at the time that the dogs were potentially dangerous after villagers spent 2 hours chasing off those snarling and hissing creatures. Can you imagine this raccoon dog? It's not it's half raccoon, half dog.
No.
Yes.
That's just one thing I don't do.
Yeah, you don't do raccoon dogs. The animal is regarded as an invasive species that is native to China, but apparently everything is leaving China now, including raccoon dogs, coronavirus, bubonic plague, you name it. It starts in China and makes its way around the world. Did you hear about the couple that was living in an island for 29 years that they built for themselves? Catherine King and Wayne Adams live on the sustainable floating compound. It's called Freedom Cove. Freedom Cove is a 25-minute boat ride from the closest town, and the island weighs 1 million pounds and is the size of 2 city lots. The compound has everything you can possibly think of and more: a dance floor, an art gallery, a candle factory, 4 greenhouses, 6 solar panels, and access to a small waterfall. The couple has even figured out their own waste management system. As artists, King and Adams have always drew inspiration from nature. As to why they built their own island, Adams says, I was hoping to make a lot more money as an artist. We can never buy real estate, so we had to make our own. Now, after staying in a friend's cabin in Cypress Bay, a large storm blew wood onto the property. King and Adams gathered the wood and used it to build the bones of what would become their future home. The Japanese baseball team Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks have come up with an imaginative replacement for fans: dancing robots. Before their most recent professional baseball game on Tuesday, more than 20 robots danced to the team's fight song on a podium in the otherwise empty stands. Some of the robots wore Hawks caps and waved flags supporting the teams. Now, 2 different robots, including SoftBank's humanoid robot Pepper, performed a choreographed dance that is usually done by the Hawks fans before the games in the 40,000-seat stadium.
YMCA.
Is that what they're doing?
No, I don't know.
I thought they were doing the Macarena. I wasn't sure. Fox Sports is doing something similar. The network will debut virtual fans in its live Major League Baseball broadcast. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.